Hi everyone, welcome to H Capital with me, Balqis. I'm so glad that you are joining us today. Our topic would be sexual harassment in workplace. With me, our guest, Patsda Liew. She is the Director of iCube Innovation and also Conquerors Vision. How are you today?
I'm good, and how are you?
I'm great. I'm so happy that you are here with me. We are going to talk about something a bit hard. I think it's not discussed frequently. How are you feeling about this?
I think it's the high time we talk about sexual harassment at workplace. It's very important for us to understand why do we need to talk about it. That's why thanks for inviting me
No
today.
problem. So I know a lot of people, we are aware of Me Too movement. It has been around for a long time, but I think it was kind of publicized a bit more in 2017. So I kind of want to ask you, has it decreased the amount of sexual harassment in the workplace?
I personally don't think that it has decreased, but people know more about it. People talk more about it. So people said, hey, don't do this to me. This is sexual harassment. So people actually, women themselves actually stopping this kind of sexual harassment. So it might not be decreased, but it's more talked about.
I agree with you. I think it has raised a bit of awareness, but I feel that there has a lot of gender harassment because of the Me Too movement. I think we are aware of it, but I think there's a lot of backlash in terms of there's a bit of aggressiveness coming from workplace because everyone's a bit scared, so they tend to be a bit more aggressive towards the topic. Do you think that's how you see it?
I see it both ways. Women might use this Me Too movement as a leverage. Some it might be, or some it might be, it's just purely really a sexual harassment happening. So yeah, it will be a bit of it needs to be a balance between this topic, I suppose.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the impact of sexual harassment in workplace. What do you feel is the main impact? When women or even men, some of men, sexually harassed, what do you feel is the impact?
I feel that it is a mental stress that if you don't have a proper channel to talk about it or a proper channel to report to your superior about it, it will become a very bad mental stress for whoever, may it be men or women in the workplace, because it might be just one-off thing like hey dear, sayang, these kind of things. But it might be a bit more serious than that. It might be to a physical extent. So I think it's very important and for people to have the correct channel to talk about or to report sexual harassment in workplace.
It kind of also affects, like for example, if you are experiencing this harassment at work, I think it does affect your quality of work. And I think it affects absenteeism rate, your mental stress, as you say. But a lot of people forget that even companies, they do receive a lot of negative impact on this. We're talking about the publicity, negative publicity. We're talking about performance error, the work productivity of the staff. I think a lot of people kind of forget about that too.
Yes.
Do you feel the same way?
Yes, I do. And I also feel that sometimes you might be fearful to come to work as well, because you might not know whether you receive the same treatment as well on that particular day.
Yeah. But okay, this is an important question for me. I feel that leaders need to be kind of held responsible in terms of addressing sexual harassment. Do you feel that they are taking this seriously?
For me, it's not. They are not taking a very proactive step. Not too much of a proactive step. Some women leaders, they are trying right now to do a very much proactive attitude towards sexual harassment, but it's not, again, like I say, it's not talked about. So it's not, people are not aware of it. Leaders need to be to take a stronger lead on sexual harassment. Yeah, by improving the law, improving how like I said just now previously, how to report sexual harassment in workplace as well. So this has to be in place to make people feel very safe at workplace.
Do you think okay, for example, when we talk about sexual harassment, when it is not being addressed, or when comments that are sexist or comments that are uncomfortable, a lot of people kind of turn a blind eye towards it, especially leaders. I think they're like, okay, it's just a little bit, just move on. I think that's quite, when you're dismissive, there's a lot of dismissiveness surrounding this topic.
Correct.
When your leaders tend to do that, I think we need to send a message that they are failing at their leadership.
Correct.
When you emphasize that as not as a sensitivity, it's more to your leadership, like how do you lead your team if you can't address these hard issues. I think once we kind of get into the bottom of it, like this is your leadership, you are failing at it, I think a lot of leaders, men and women, tend to take it seriously. Even us women, we tend to shy away from it, right?
Exactly.
It makes you uncomfortable.
Yes.
Because for instance, for me, for example, I have been in situations where jokes are made.
Yes.
And I tend to laugh because it does make me uncomfortable. It does, mentally, I kind of feel like, oh, that's inappropriate. But I don't want to be seen as too emotional. I don't want to be seen as, you know, she's a, you know.
Yeah, she's just a woman.
Yeah.
You know, she can't take like jokes like that.
Yeah, so I kind of don't like that image to be associated with me. So me too, I feel like I'm not proactive in terms of maintaining that environment. I think women too needs to kind of be a bit more proactive.
Yeah.
But also men need to be our allies. And when we talk about this, there is an unspoken pressure among men to kind of be cool. It's like, you know, I think there's a lot of that dynamic between men when they feel pressured into being, you know, cool. You know, they don't want to be serious. They don't want to be seem like they are not too masculine when they kind of like uphold that. I think that also plays a role.
I think, like what you say, knowing about this and knowing your rights in the workplace is very important. As you say, we have men talk to us like, you know, body shaming, for example, or even call you baby, like I say, baby sayang. For us, if it depends what you want, what it is that you can take it as a woman. Like I said again, probably we try to desensitize this, but it's not right. So your policy, that's why I mentioned before, that policies are very important on your workplace about what is the definition of sexual harassment, and it should be taught. From the day one you step into office, this is our policy, so we do not tolerate certain behavior or certain gesture.
So when we talk about that, so what do you think are the tools that companies need to adapt in order to kind of provide a safe environment?
Oh, from the very day one, they have to have policy saying that, okay, what can be done and what cannot be done. That, let's say, for example, so in my previous company, we do have this kind of very intensive sexual harassment policy, whereby you don't even use the word dear.
Oh, okay.
So even in emails, you know how when we start email, it's like dear something. So for them, it's called an endearment.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it's a no-no in a company policy, and they will have this kind of reporting procedure, which I think is pretty cool for a company to have it on day one orientation.
For example, I use dear a lot in emails. I don't think it would be, you know, not to say wrong, but you know, it might suggest something that is not appropriate. So I think that's good, and then I feel that we also have to not rely on policies, but also to model that expected standard of behavior.
Yes, exactly.
With, leaders and all the managers, I think when they are surrounded by this and they are aware, we have policies in place, everyone's acting how they're supposed to act, I think that would kind of help the environment to be a bit more safe, women to feel a bit more safe, and men, some men.
Correct.
So I would love to continue this conversation. We will come back after the break.
All right.
Hi, welcome back to H Capital with me, Balqis. We are on the topic of sexual harassment in workplace. So let's kind of get into it. I kind of want to know your opinion on the policy that is currently available in Malaysia, do you feel there is an advancement on the sexual harassment policy?
Currently, the sexual policy is pretty weak in Malaysia.
Yep.
So there has not been any update since 2012, something like that.
Yeah.
Pretty weak, and there's no proper, I think, guidelines. It's pretty vague, the guidelines. Yeah.
It's good to mention that in like 1999, that was not long ago actually. We were given the guideline for employers in terms of how to handle sexual harassment at workplace, but I think there wasn't any law until recently, maybe a bit, but it doesn't cover much. I think in 2012, there is a sexual harassment policy included in the Employment Act 1955, but then it doesn't cover Sabah and Sarawak. We have no provision in that. With its limitation, we have sexual harassment bill that we are trying to get it in the system, but then it's not there yet due to the pandemic. So I think the efforts are there, but I think we are not quick enough.
Yeah.
Right.
Hopefully it's faster.
I hope so too, because I think it's about time that we take this seriously.
Correct.
Okay. So when we talk about sexual harassment, if you notice, even when we are talking, it's only about female. Like we are falling back to make it as a woman's issue. We don't participate men inside the conversation. Do you think this is a woman's issue?
No, it affects actually both gender, male and female. But it's not talked about because men tend to be a bit more shy in reporting these cases. It do happen. It has been happening.
Yeah.
And we need to tell men that you can actually report it without being shamed about it.
When we label it as a woman's issue, we are kind of giving an excuse to men not to participate. So I think let's kind of change that label. Let's kind of make it our issue. Maybe not just men's issue, our issue. Yes, like because if you notice, there's a lot of victim blaming. So like, what was she wearing? All these things it's already in our system, in our structure.
I think it's more talked about.
Yeah.
But as compared to men, that's why people tend to think that it's a women issue.
Yeah.
But it's not a women issue. It can be man to man. It can be female to man.
Yeah.
Things like that as well. Yeah.
And do you feel like this is an individual problem, or is it a society issue?
It is a society issue, and we have to stop make it the victim's fault.
Yeah.
It has to be everyone's fault. Everyone plays a role in saying, hey, if you find that people talking to you, it's like, hey baby.
Yeah.
But if you witness that and you don't stop it,
you are
part
of the problem.
Yeah, you're part of the problem too.
Yeah. And then that's actually a good point. A lot of us are not playing an active role. We tend to shy away from saying to another person, interrupt when this is going on in front of our face.
Yes.
But also, let's not forget that it's not just about women. I think men are also sexually harassed, but they are quickly brushed off.
In fact, men are suffering in silence. That a lot of this, even in suicide rates, if you see suicide rate in Malaysia as well, men is actually pretty high up there compared to women, because women can talk about it. And then men,
I think we're more vocal.
Yeah, I think so.
Women enjoy
I think
talking.
we're more expressive.
We just enjoy talking about anything, everything. But men, I think there's this stigma of they need to be strong. I need to handle my own problems by myself. That I think that stigma makes them feel alone, because there are men. Like for example, I think previous years, Terry Crews, do you know Terry Crews? He has been harassed by one of the directors. And he's a big guy, he's a masculine guy. But then I think he was ashamed because he feels like he doesn't want to make a big deal out of it. He feels that, I think there's a stigma around being sexually harassed. Yeah, so I think that issue needs to be talked about a bit more.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because we are at this is, when we are talking about this topic, this actually applies men and women at workplace. It's not only women.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so when we talk about sexual harassment, most of the time it is unreported. And there's that issue where people say, why didn't they report about it? If it really happened, why didn't they report about it? Why do you think men and women are silent when it comes to sexual harassment?
Because there simply isn't policy. The policy isn't clear in a company or in a workplace. So if it's not clear, one, who you should report it to, and whether or not is there an action if you report it, or will you be thrown away from or shunned away from work, or being put into a position whereby no increment, no bonuses, or subordination stuff.
So being punished, they're worried about the
consequences
consequences of reporting.
Correct.
It affects their privacy too. I think once you speak about it, a lot of people are worried that they don't. Everybody would know, so shame comes into it.
Correct.
And my issue, everybody would know. There's no privacy towards it, because if you report it, it will be there. Like everybody would know about it. I think that also comes into a reason why the main problem is the minimization of experience. A lot of people dismiss it and minimize it as being too emotional or too, you are paranoid.
It's petty.
It's petty. This is petty. Continue on with your work. He's fine. So I think that comes into place. The issue comes into place.
Correct.
What is the main message that you want to kind of tell our viewers? What do you want to emphasize most?
Well, company has to take the proactive role in actually defining this sexual harassment policy. There should be a flow, or there should be a system or way they can report, and they have to remain anonymous when they do the reporting. Things like that has to happen. If it's not, it will just go unreported. So you just being brushed under the carpet.
And to add to that, I feel that not only that we need a strong policy, we need everybody to participate constantly. Leaders need to talk about it, have trainings on it. Don't just rely on paperwork, but more to your actions. I think that's also important. Well, I'm so happy that you are here with me today. Hopefully sexual harassment will be talked more. And
will be better in workplace.
So thanks for joining us. I hope you catch up with us next week, and see you again. To be honest, I don't think there's any woman who has not been sexually harassed. It feels like a norm to us, something that we have to get used to, unfortunately. But in order to eradicate sexual harassment, we can't just rely on policies and training by the company. We have to emphasize on leadership accountability. So employers do communicate with your employees that preventing sexual harassment is your highest priority. We have to set a culture where sexual harassment is not tolerated, since this culture will predict the occurrence of sexual harassment in your workplace. Follow every word with action, and you'll find yourself one step closer to making sexual harassment a thing in the past. But let me know what are the ways that you feel can eradicate sexual harassment. Thanks for joining me this week. Have a wonderful day.